Constructivism, the constructivist theory of learning. This presentation is divided into three sections. The first section will discuss the constructivist theory of learning as it applies to the learner or the student. We'll also discuss the constructivist theory of learning as it applies to the teacher, the instructor, or the facilitator of learning. The second section will deal with the father of constructivism, constructive theorist Jean Piaget. And then the final section includes the references for this presentation. Section 1. The Constructivist Theory of Learning. The constructivist approach to learning focuses on experience and reflection. Step 1, an individual has a concrete experience that takes place. Then, step 2, they reflect on that experience. And then finally, in step 3, new knowledge is constructed as a result of the experience and the reflections. Constructivism as it relates to the student or the learner. Learning is an individual and personal experience that involves a progressive adaptation from the individual's cognitive development to the physical environment around them. The theory of constructivism looks at the way a learner learns. Constructivists believe that the learner learns best when he or she is actively engaged. The student is viewed as one who acts on objects and events within his or her environment, and in the process gains an understanding and derives meaning of those objects and events that take place. The meaning and relevance is made by the individual learner and is dependent on their previous and current knowledge foundation. Children construct theories or hypotheses of learning by situations of relationship. By using this process of constantly putting formerly learned relationships into new relationships, they become aware of their circular reasoning and construct meaningful explanations of phenomena. Constructivists would not think that children absorb ideas that are spoken to them by teachers or that they somehow internalize them through endless repetitive practice. Constructivists argue that children actually invent their ideas. The learning experience that takes place is an internal cognitive activity that takes place leading to new knowledge. Constructivism as it relates to the teacher or the facilitator of learning. Instruction that centers on the constructivist approach involves providing experiences for the learner. Jean Piaget included principles from the classroom, stating that possibly the most important role for the teacher is to provide an environment in which the child can experience spontaneous research. The classroom should be filled with an authentic opportunity to challenge each and every student. The student should be given the freedom to understand and construct meaning at their own pace through personal experiences as they develop through individual developmental processes. Learning is an active process in which errors will be made and solutions can be found. This may often involve cognitive conflict that encourages the learner to develop new knowledge and new knowledge schemes adapted from those experiences. This teaching style will often encourage group discussion to facilitate reflection based upon the activities or experiences that took place during the learning. Characteristics of constructivist type of teaching methods would include that the learners are actively involved, the environment is democratic, the activities are interactive and student-centered rather than teacher-centered, and that the teacher facilitates a process of learning in which students are encouraged to be responsible and autonomous. Examples of activities in a constructivist classroom might include experimentation, where students individually perform an experiment and then come together as a class to discuss the results. Research projects, where students research a topic and can present their findings to the class. Field trips. This allows students to put the concepts and ideas discussed in class in a real-world context. Field trips would often be followed by class discussions as well. Films. Films provide visual context and thus bring another sense into the learning experience. And then class discussions. This technique is used in all of the methods described, and it is one of the most important distinctions of constructivist teaching methods due to the reflection that is involved. Stage 1, the sensory motor stage. The sensory motor stage is divided up into 6 substages that we'll discuss on the next slide. Stage 1 of the 4 stages of development takes place from the birth of a child to 2 years old. Development is focused on motor skills. The infant gains basic reflexes and begins repetitive activities and habits. The child is also focused on external objects, physical interactions, and experiences. Experimentation and trial and error allow the child to acquire basic hand-eye coordination. Increased mobility enhances the ability to explore, leading to new areas of cognitive development. Early language development also begins during this stage 1, the sensory motor stage. Stage 2 of Piaget's 4 stages of learning is called the pre-operational stage. This stage takes place from 2 years old to 7 years old. During this stage, reasoning starts to emerge. The pre-operational stage is one of intense language learning. The child also becomes able to represent objects with symbols and can conceptualize people, events, and places that are not immediately present. Imagination is a large component of this stage, including playing that involves make-believe and pretend. And the child is still essentially egocentric or self-centered and has trouble understanding time and cause and effect relationships. The final stage of Piaget's theory of development is the formal operational stage. This takes place from 12 years old into early adulthood and continues throughout adulthood for most learners. During this period, the individual gains increasing ability to think abstractly. Logical reasoning becomes more sophisticated. Adolescents gain abilities to plan more effectively and systematically test hypotheses. The individual becomes more able to use hypothetical and deductive reasoning and to follow a process for problem solving. The adolescent can gain abilities to formulate complicated verbal arguments and to understand complex mathematics and mathematical formulas. Martin, Miriam, Caffarella, and Baumgartner, Papert, and Piaget himself.